The marketplace of Dornis 9 was full of voices, machines, and strange smells. Rusty stalls stood under flickering lamps, and the ground was wet with black rain that never seemed to stop. People came here to trade food, machines, and sometimes living beings. It was a place where hope was cheap and cruelty was normal. In the middle of the square, a group of alien merchants dragged a young woman forward. Her wrists were locked with a chain, her clothes were torn, and her face carried no smile. Her skin had a soft silver shine, and her eyes glowed faint blue as if stars lived inside them. The crowd looked, then turned away. To them, she was not a person, only another item for sale. The announcer raised his hand and shouted, 5 credits. That's all she is worth. 5 credits, and she is yours. The crowd laughed. Some shook their heads. A few shouted cruel jokes. At the edge of the market stood a man named Aaron Kale. He was human, a mechanic who had spent most of his life fixing old ships and broken machines. He was not rich, he was not powerful, he was not even respected. But when his eyes met hers, something inside him moved. She did not cry or beg. She only stood there with quiet strength, looking at him. Her calm face seemed to say, I know you see me. For Aaron, that moment was heavy, like a choice given by the universe itself. Aaron reached into his pocket. He had only 5 credits left. It was his last money, saved for food or parts for his tiny shuttle. If he spent it now, he would have nothing. But he could not turn away. The crowd shouted again. She's weaker than a broken drone. She won't last a week with you, human. Their laughter was sharp and cruel. Aaron raised his hand. I'll buy her, he said, his voice quiet but firm. The announcer's grin widened. Sold. Sold for 5 credits to the human fool. The chain was unlocked. The woman stumbled forward, her legs weak from hunger. She nearly fell, but Aaron caught her, steadying her with both arms. The crowd laughed louder, but he ignored them. Her voice was soft, barely a whisper. You didn't have to. Aaron looked into her glowing eyes. No one deserves to be sold like this, he said. His words were simple, but they carried a weight that made her chest rise with a trembling breath. They walked out of the market together, slow and silent. The laughter behind them faded, but Aaron felt eyes on his back. Not everyone in Dornis 9 would ignore such a strange event. A woman of starborn blood sold for only 5 credits? It was too unusual, too dangerous. When they reached the edge of the square, the woman spoke again. My name is Eli. Her words were clear, though her voice was tired. Aaron nodded. I'm Aaron, and you're safe now. But inside his heart, Aaron knew safety was not something he could promise. He had just bought a life with the last of his money, and the universe rarely let choices like this go without a price. That night, as they reached the broken shell of his small shuttle, Aaron helped her sit down. He gave her the last of his water and a piece of stale bread. She ate slowly, as if every bite was strange to her. Her glowing eyes watched him, not with fear, but with quiet trust. Aaron lay awake long after she slept. He could still hear the laughter of the crowd in his ears. They had mocked him, called him a fool. But when he looked at Eli resting in the corner of his shuttle, he felt something no money could buy. He felt purpose. In the shadows of Dornis 9, unseen figures whispered. A human had bought a starborn woman. A woman with glowing eyes and silver skin. They whispered of her value, her secrets, her hidden blood. Aaron did not yet know it. But by spending his last 5 credits, he had stepped into a path that would change not only his life, but the balance of entire worlds. And as the night grew colder, one truth remained clear. This was not the end of a story. This was only the beginning. Aaron's shuttle was small, broken in places, and smelled of oil and metal. For years, it had been his home, a place where he slept under dim lights and counted the days until his next job. Now, for the first time, there was someone else inside. Eli sat quietly on the narrow bench, her glowing eyes moving over the walls and tools. She touched the cold metal, then folded her hands in her lap, silent. Aaron tried to act calm, but his mind was storming. He had spent his last credit. He had no food left except a single stale ration, and the engine of his shuttle barely worked. What had he done? Why had he stepped forward in that market? He could not answer, yet he knew deep inside he would not change his choice. Eat this, he said, giving her the small piece of bread. She accepted it without a word, chewing slowly. The silence between them was heavy but not uncomfortable. It was as if she had lived in silence for so long that words had lost meaning. After a while, she asked softly, "Why did you buy me?" Her voice was calm, almost curious, not desperate. Aaron leaned back against the wall, thinking. "Because no one should be sold like that," he said. "That's not an answer," she whispered, her glowing eyes fixed on him. Aaron looked down, his rough hands dirty from years of work. "I don't know," he admitted. "But when I saw you, I couldn't just walk away." Seelai studied him, then closed her eyes. "You are strange for a human," she said at last. Aaron laughed quietly. "Strange is the only thing I've ever been good at." They rested in silence until sleep began to pull at them. Aaron lay on the floor, giving her the bench, but sleep did not come easy. Outside, the rain hit the metal roof with sharp taps. Inside, his thoughts spun in circles. He remembered the crowd's laughter, their cruel jokes, and the shadowy eyes watching him. Someone would come for her, he was sure of it. Just before dawn, Aaron woke to a soft sound. Seelai was whispering in a language he did not know. Her hands glowed faint blue as she touched the wall of the shuttle. The light spread in small lines, dancing like tiny rivers across the surface. Aaron sat up, startled. "What are you doing?" The glow faded at once, and she looked at him with surprise, almost guilt. "Nothing," she said, too quickly. Aaron frowned, but said nothing more. He lay back down, but his heart beat fast. She was not ordinary, he already knew that. But what had he really brought into his life? When the sunless dawn came, Aaron prepared his small toolkit. He needed to find work, or they would both starve. Seelai followed him as he stepped into the crowded streets. Her silver skin caught the weak light, and people stared. Aaron pulled his old coat around her shoulders, hiding her as best he could. But the whispers had already begun. "That's the one," a voice said. "The human who bought the Starborn," said another. Aaron kept walking, his jaw tight. He found a repair job at the edge of the docks, fixing a broken cargo loader. The pay was small, only a few credits, but it was enough to buy food for the day. While he worked, Seelai sat nearby, quiet and still. She watched him with careful eyes, her head tilting as if every move of his tools was a mystery to her. When they returned to the shuttle that night, she finally spoke again. "You gave your last money for me," she said, her voice low. "Yes," Aaron answered simply. "Why?" she asked again. Aaron sighed. "Because I couldn't stand there and do nothing." Seelai's lips curved into the faintest smile. "You are not like the others," she whispered. That night, Aaron slept a little better. The sound of rain still filled the air, but he felt something had changed. For the first time in years, his shuttle did not feel empty. Yet in the dark, far from the docks, others still whispered his name. The human who bought her. The one who might not live long enough to regret it. And somewhere deep in the city, a signal was sent. A message to those who hunted Starborn blood. They now had a new target. A poor mechanic and the bride he had bought for only 5 credits. Aaron thought he could hide. He thought the crowd's laughter would fade, and people would forget about the strange woman bought for 5 credits. But whispers spread faster than fire in Dornis 9. By the 3rd day, every corner of the city seemed to know about the human and his silver-skinned bride. Inside the shuttle, Seelai sat by the small window, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Aaron patched wires and checked circuits, trying to keep the shuttle alive. Every time he looked at her, he felt a strange pull, as if her calm presence pushed away the noise of the world. But he also felt the danger growing closer. Late in the evening, heavy knocks rattled the shuttle door. Aaron froze, his wrench still in his hand. Seelai's eyes met his, calm but alert. He opened the door slowly, and 2 figures stepped inside. They were not merchants, not workers, but hunters. Their black armor gleamed with dust, and strange marks covered their shoulders. "You have something that belongs to us," the taller one said, his voice flat. Aaron forced himself to stay steady. "She's not property," he answered. The man's helmet tilted, a low laugh escaping his mask. "Everything here is property. Human. Hand her over, and maybe we let you live." Seelai stood, her chain still hanging loose around her wrists. Her voice was sharp, stronger than Aaron had ever heard. "I do not belong to you." The shorter hunter stepped forward, reaching for her. In that instant, her hands glowed blue again, brighter than before. A wave of light spread out, crackling across the walls of the shuttle. The hunter was thrown back, crashing into the door, sparks flying. Aaron's heart pounded. He grabbed Seeli's hand, pulling her toward the back hatch. They ran into the narrow alleys of Dornus 9, the sound of shouts echoing behind them. The hunters were not dead, only angry, and they were fast. The city was a maze of steel bridges, dripping pipes, and endless shadows. Aaron led Seeli through broken walkways and rusted tunnels. His lungs burned, his legs ached, but he did not let go of her hand. She followed without fear, her eyes glowing like two stars guiding the way. Blaster fire lit the walls behind them. Metal screamed as bolts hit the pipes, sending showers of steam into the air. Aaron pulled her into a narrow passage, pressing against the cold wall as footsteps thundered past. For a moment, there was silence, broken only by his heavy breathing. Seeli touched his arm, her voice calm despite the chase. "They will not stop," she whispered. Aaron nodded. "I know. Then why do you still hold on to me?" she asked, her eyes searching his face. Aaron swallowed hard. "Because I made a choice, and I'm not letting them take you back." Her glowing eyes softened, almost like a smile in the dark. "You do not understand what I am," she said. "Then tell me," Aaron whispered. But before she could answer, the sound of boots returned, louder, closer. Aaron grabbed her hand again, and they moved deeper into the Undercity. The air grew colder, filled with the smell of rust and old oil. Lights flickered weakly, and the floor shook with the weight of machines above. They passed broken signs, long-abandoned stalls, and tunnels that led into endless black. Finally, they reached a chamber hidden beneath the market. Aaron shut the heavy grate behind them, locking it with a rusted bar. His chest heaved with every breath, sweat running down his face. Seeli stood calm, glowing faintly in the shadows. "They will come again," Aaron said. "Yes," Seeli answered, her voice soft but sure. "Then tell me why," he demanded, his voice sharper now. "What makes you worth so much that men in armor would kill to have you?" Seeli looked down, her hands glowing faint for a moment, then fading. At last she spoke. "Because my blood carries the memory of stars," she whispered. "And to them, I am not a bride, not even a woman. To them, I am power." Aaron stared at her, breathless. The meaning of her words was heavy, like a weight pressing down on both of them. He had bought her for 5 credits, but what he held now was something beyond value. Something the whole universe might soon come to claim. The chamber beneath the market was cold and silent. Pipes dripped water into shallow puddles, and the walls hummed faintly with the weight of the city above. Aaron sat on a broken crate, his chest still rising and falling from the chase. Seeli stood in the middle of the room, her faint glow casting soft light across the metal floor. Her words echoed in his head. "My blood carries the memory of stars." Aaron rubbed his face with his hands. "What does that even mean?" he asked. Seeli lifted her gaze, her glowing eyes steady. "It means my people were born with memory, not learned, but carried in the blood itself. Every song, every law, every secret from 1,000 generations flows in me." Aaron tried to understand, but it was too large, too strange. He was a mechanic, a man who fixed broken machines. Now he was sitting with someone who claimed to hold the history of stars inside her veins. "And that's why they hunt you," he whispered. "Yes," Seeli said simply. "To them, I am a weapon, a tool, or a prize." Aaron clenched his fists. "But to me, you're none of those." Seeli tilted her head, curious. "Then what am I to you?" Aaron opened his mouth, but no words came. He didn't know yet, or maybe he knew but could not say it. Before he could answer, a sharp sound echoed through the tunnels. Metal boots against stone, distant but closing in. Aaron cursed under his breath. "They found us already." Seeli's calm face didn't change. "They will always find us," she said softly. "Then we run again," Aaron replied, standing quickly. But Seeli stepped closer, her hand brushing his arm. "No, we cannot keep running forever," she said. "If I keep hiding, they will only send more, and more will die. You do not know the weight you carry now, Aaron." Her words sank into him like ice. He wanted to protect her, but how could he fight against hunters, machines, and forces he didn't even understand? "I'm just one man," he whispered. "You are human," she answered, her voice almost warm. "And humans are never just one. Your kind changes worlds because you never stop fighting." Aaron looked into her eyes, seeing strength that didn't match her thin frame. For a moment, he believed her. But then the boots grew louder, and the sound of weapons charging filled the air. The grate behind them exploded, sparks flying. Hunters stormed in, armored, armed, their visors glowing red. Aaron pulled Seeli behind him, his old wrench the only weapon in his hand. The hunters laughed at the sight. One human and a stick? Brave, but foolish. Before they could fire, Seeli stepped forward. Her hands glowed, brighter than before. Blue light spread across the chamber, racing up the walls, filling every crack and pipe. The hunters raised their weapons, but the light struck first. It slammed into them like a wave, throwing them back against the metal. Sparks burst, armor cracked, and the smell of burning circuits filled the room. Aaron shielded his eyes, but the light did not burn him. It flowed around him like water, leaving him untouched. When it faded, the hunters lay on the ground, their armor smoking. Seeli staggered, her glow dimming, her breath sharp and uneven. Aaron rushed to her side, catching her before she fell. "You can't keep doing this," he said, panic in his voice. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "You see now why they want me," she whispered. Then her eyes closed, her body limp in his arms. Aaron's heart pounded. He looked at the fallen hunters, then at Seeli's pale face. She was more than rare, more than valuable. She was something powerful enough to burn armies. And now she was his responsibility. The city above roared with distant noise, alarms starting to echo through the tunnels. Others would come, stronger, faster, more dangerous. Aaron held Seeli tighter, his jaw set. He had bought her for 5 credits, but he would not trade her for the universe. For the first time in years, Aaron felt fire in his chest. Not just survival, not just endurance, but something sharper. He was not just running anymore. He was fighting, and the fight had only begun. The tunnels shook with distant alarms. Aaron carried Seeli in his arms, her faint glow flickering like a dying star. He laid her gently on the bench inside the shuttle, his heart racing. Her breathing was shallow, her hands still faintly marked with blue light. Aaron pressed his palms against his face, trying to think. He had no weapons, no money, no allies. And now, because of him, Seeli was being hunted by forces far bigger than he could imagine. The city outside was no longer safe. Hunters would return, stronger, smarter. He needed to move, but to where? Seeli stirred, her voice weak. "You should leave me," she whispered. Aaron shook his head, anger flashing in his eyes. "Don't say that. I didn't buy you just to throw you away." Her lips curved faintly, but her glow remained dim. "You don't understand. If you keep me, they will destroy you." Aaron knelt beside her, gripping her hand. "Then let them try," he said, his voice hard. "I'm not running anymore, Seeli. If they want you, they'll have to go through me." Silence filled the shuttle, broken only by the hum of weak circuits. For the first time, Seeli looked at him not as a stranger, but as someone she trusted. "You are human," she said softly, "and that means you never stop." Before Aaron could answer, the shuttle's outer alarm beeped sharply. He rushed to the window. A group of figures moved through the shadows outside, not armored hunters, but cloaked men with strange devices. Bounty hunters, faster and hungrier than soldiers. They were here for Seeli. Aaron's pulse thundered. He grabbed his wrench and pulled Seeli to her feet. She could barely stand, but her hand glowed faintly as she steadied herself. "We can't fight them head on," Aaron muttered. Seeli nodded weakly. "Then we outsmart them." The bounty hunters moved like shadows, circling the shuttle. Aaron pulled open a maintenance hatch, leading into the city's lower ducts. "Come on," he whispered, guiding her inside. They crawled through the narrow tunnels, steam hissing around them. The sound of footsteps echoed behind. Too close, too fast. Seeli touched the wall, faint light spreading just enough to guide their way. But each use of her gift made her weaker, her glow fading with every step. Aaron clenched his teeth. She was burning herself out to keep him alive. Finally, they reached a large chamber beneath the docks. Broken ships lay scattered, metal ribs sticking out like skeletons. Aaron helped Seeli sit against a wall, her breath sharp and shallow. The hunters' voices echoed closer. "No mistakes. She's worth more than 10 planets. Find them." Aaron's fists tightened. He couldn't run anymore. If he kept running, Seeli would collapse, and they would both die. He needed to choose, fight or surrender. He turned to her. "Seeli, if I fall, I need you to promise me something. Her glowing eyes opened, weak but steady. What? Don't give up, Aaron said. Keep fighting. No matter what happens, you're not property, not a prize, you're free. Her lips trembled into a faint smile. You are strange, Aaron Kale, she whispered. Strange enough to believe I'm worth more than stars. Footsteps thundered into the chamber, lights cutting through the darkness. Aaron stood, wrench in hand, his heart steady. He was one man against many, but he would not step back. The hunters laughed when they saw him. A mechanic with a stick? You'll die quickly. Aaron lifted the wrench, his eyes burning with defiance. Maybe, but I'll die standing. Behind him, Celi's glow began to return, faint but growing. Her strength was not gone, only waiting. Together, they were more than prey. Together, they would fight. And in that moment, Aaron made his choice. He was not just protecting her. He was standing for something larger. For the right of one's soul not to be sold for 5 credits. For the right of a human to say no to the chains of others. The chamber filled with light as the hunters charged, and Aaron's voice cut through the noise. This ends here. The hunters circled, their weapons glowing with sharp red light. Aaron stood in front of Celi, his wrench held high, his heart steady. He was only one man, but in his chest burned a fire he had never felt before. The first hunter charged, fast and silent. Aaron swung his wrench with all his strength, the metal crashing against the man's helmet. The hunter staggered back, surprised that the mechanic dared to fight. Another came from the side, but Aaron ducked low, the blaster shot burning the wall behind him. Celi struggled to her feet, her glow faint at first, but as the fight grew louder, her light grew stronger. Her hands lifted, trembling, and a wave of soft blue sparks spread into the air. The hunters froze for a moment, staring at the glow. It's her, one hissed. She's worth more alive. Don't kill her, shouted another. Their hesitation was enough. Aaron pushed forward, swinging, blocking, refusing to fall. Every strike echoed like thunder in the chamber. His arms burned, his breath grew heavy, but he did not stop. Celi's glow flared brighter, flowing across the broken ships. The metal around them trembled, pipes shivered, and sparks rained down. The hunters raised their rifles, but before they could fire, her voice cut through the noise. Enough. A surge of blue energy exploded outward. It rolled like a wave, tossing the hunters across the chamber, their armor sparking, their weapons melting in their hands. The ground shook with the force, and the air hummed with strange echoes. Aaron shielded his eyes, but the light did not burn him. When he looked again, the hunters lay broken, groaning, unable to rise. Celi collapsed to her knees, her body shaking. Aaron rushed to her, holding her up. You'll kill yourself if you keep doing this, he said, fear in his voice. Celi shook her head weakly. My gift is not only for me, Aaron, it is for those who stand beside me. If I do not use it, then what am I? Aaron gripped her hand tightly. You are Celi, not a weapon, not a prize. You are more than what they want you to be. Her glowing eyes softened, and for the first time, her hand squeezed his in return. But their moment was broken by the sound of engines above. Heavy ships moved across the city sky, their lights cutting through the rain. The bounty hunters had failed, but now something worse had arrived. Soldiers, not a handful, but many, and they were not here to capture quietly. They were here to end it. Aaron pulled Celi close. We can't stay here. She nodded weakly. Then where? Aaron looked at the broken ships around them, his mind racing. One of these still has a working drive. I can fix it. They moved quickly, Aaron dragging tools from his pack, his hands flying over panels and wires. Celi sat beside him, glowing faintly, her presence giving him focus. Above, the sound of boots and engines grew louder. They had minutes, maybe less. At last, the engine of the old ship groaned to life, sparks shooting out before settling into a steady hum. Aaron grinned through sweat and grease. It'll fly, maybe not far, but enough to get us out. Celi's lips curved into a tired smile. You are strange, but you are also brilliant. They boarded the ship, the metal groaning under their weight. Aaron strapped into the pilot's seat, Celi beside him. The chamber door above burst open, soldiers pouring in, weapons raised. Aaron slammed the controls, the ship roared, and fire blasted from the engines. The soldiers shouted, firing as the ship lifted. Bolts of light struck the hull, sparks flying, but the engines held. The old craft rose higher, breaking through the chamber roof, smoke and fire raining down. Aaron shouted over the roar. "Hold on." The ship shot upward, breaking into the storm-filled sky. Rain slammed against the windows, and lightning lit the clouds. Behind them, warships rose, their cannons glowing. Celi's hand rested on his arm. "We cannot run forever," she said softly. Aaron's jaw tightened. "Then we don't run," he replied. "We fight." The storm swallowed them, but the chase had only begun. The storm raged outside, lightning flashing across the sky as Aaron fought the ship's trembling controls. Behind them, warships chased, their cannons firing bright bolts that tore through the clouds. Each strike shook the small craft, sparks bursting from broken panels. Celi held the walls, her glow faint but steady, her eyes locked on him. "They will not stop," she said calmly. "They will keep hunting until they have me, or until we end this." Aaron's jaw tightened. "Then we end it," he growled. The ship rattled as another blast skimmed the hull. Aaron's hands moved fast across the controls, rerouting power, pushing the failing engine harder than it was built to go. But he knew it wasn't enough. A single mechanic in a broken ship could not fight an army. Celi placed her glowing hand on the console. Blue light spread across the controls, seeping into the wires, merging with the ship itself. The engine roared louder, steadier, as if her strength flowed through it. Aaron looked at her in shock. "You're burning yourself out." Her lips curved in a faint smile. "I was never meant to live small, Aaron. I was meant to burn bright, even if only once." The ship shot upward, cutting through the storm. The warships followed, their cannons glowing brighter. Aaron's heart pounded. He could not let her give everything, not like this. He grabbed her hand, his voice sharp. "No, you don't do this alone. If you fall, I fall with you." Celi's eyes widened, her faint glow reflecting in his gaze. "You are human," she whispered, "and that means you never stop." Her light spread further, wrapping around both of them. The cockpit glowed as if stars themselves had entered the ship. Aaron felt warmth in his chest, strength filling him where there had only been exhaustion. Together, their light merged, brighter, stronger, unstoppable. The warships closed in, cannons locking on target. But before they could fire, Celi raised both hands. The sky itself seemed to split. A surge of blue energy burst outward, flowing from the small ship like a tidal wave. It struck the warships, shattering their weapons, tearing through armor, scattering them like leaves in the wind. The storm cleared, the clouds parting. The silence after the blast was deep and endless. Aaron sat frozen, his hands still gripping the controls. Beside him, Celi leaned against the seat, weak but smiling. "It is done," she whispered. Aaron looked at her, his chest heavy. "You saved us." Her glowing eyes met his, soft and steady. "No, we saved us." The ship drifted quietly above the broken clouds. Below lay Dornis 9, its towers flickering weakly. Above stretched endless stars, free and waiting. Aaron reached out, taking her hand gently. "I don't care what they call you. Weapon, starborn, prize. To me, you are Celi, and you are mine." Her lips trembled into a smile, her glow softening. "And you, Aaron Kale, are the strangest human I have ever known. But you are my joy." The words lingered in the small cockpit, stronger than the storm, louder than the war. Aaron held her hand tighter, his heart steady at last. He had bought her for 5 credits, but she had given him something no wealth could match. Not power, not glory, but purpose and love. Together, they looked out at the endless dark, not as hunter and hunted, not as property and buyer, but as partners, bound not by chains, but by choice. Celi leaned against him, her whisper soft. "Take me to the stars, Aaron." He smiled, his hand steady on the controls. "Always." And with that, the small ship burned into the night, carrying a human and his starborn bride, not toward safety, but toward a future they would fight for, together.